Hey, it's me and welcome to my channel. Thank you very much for tuning in and remember to like and subscribe, okay? Now, I was just flicking through the pages of the Bible and I came upon an interesting part of it about this prophet called Habakkuk. So, the reason why I want to read this out, I won't really be adding much, if any, of my own input in this one, okay? Because there's not really much need for me to do so, but it's very interesting because it shows how God talks and communicates and deals with Christians and his prophets as well, so we can learn a lot from this, okay? So I'm going to read the introduction first, okay? So, Habakkuk was written as a dialogue or conversation between God and the prophet. Habakkuk saw that the leaders in Judah were oppressing the poor, so he asked the question as to why God allowed those wicked people to prosper. When God told him that the Babylonians would come to punish Judah, Habakkuk became more concerned. He did not understand how God could use the Babylonians, who were actually more wicked than the wicked Jews, to bring judgment on God's chosen people. God's answer was that the just would live by faith in God and that they had the assurance that God was doing what was right. God told Habakkuk that in due time the Babylonians too would be judged and that justice would come about for the people of God. Habakkuk ends his book with a prayer of praise, okay? The oracle that Habakkuk the prophet received. Habakkuk's complaint. Now, it's a name that I'm only just starting to begin to pronounce properly, but don't be surprised if I end up stammering or end up tripping over my words, because his name is not particularly easy to pronounce. Anyway. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you, violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrong? Now, this is something I can really relate to in my own life, okay? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore, the law is paralysed, and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous, so that justice is perverted. The Lord's answer. Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed, for I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told. I am raising up the Babylonians, that ruthless and impetuous people who sweep across the whole earth to seize dwelling places not their own. They are a feared and dreaded people. They are law to themselves and promote their own honour. Their horses are swifter than leopards, fiercer than wolves at dusk. Their cavalry gallops headlong, their horsemen come from afar. They fly like a vulture, swooping to devour. They all come bent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind and gather prisoners like sand. They deride kings and scoff at rulers. They laugh at all fortified cities. They build earthen ramps and capture them. Then they sweep past like the wind and go on guilty men whose own strength is their God. So obviously the Babylonians were relying on their own strength rather than God's strength. Habakkuk's second complaint. O Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, we will not die. O Lord, you have appointed them to execute judgment. O Rock, you have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrong. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You have made men like fish in the sea, like sea creatures that have no ruler. I can actually imagine what he was saying there, because it does seem like in this world today even that people are just going about and doing whatever they want all the time, and it seems like there's no justice in this world about many things. Anyway, the wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them up in his dragnet. and so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net and burns incense to his dragnet, for by his net he lives in luxury and enjoys the choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy? So you can start to get the picture here as well, you know. Anyway, we're on to Habakkuk 2. I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me, and what answer I am to give to his complaints. The Lord's answer. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. So see, he is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous will live by his faith. Indeed, wine betrays him. He is arrogant and never at rest. Because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied. He gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the peoples. Will not all of them taunt him with ridicule and scorn, saying, woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion? How long must this go on? Will not your debtors suddenly arise? Will they not wake up and make you tremble? Then you will become their victim. Because you have plundered many nations, the peoples who are left will plunder you, for you have shed man's blood. You have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them. Woe to him who builds his realm by unjust gain, to set his nest on high, to escape the clutches of ruin. You have plotted the ruin of many people, shaming your own house and forfeiting your life. The stones of the wall will cry out, and the beams of the woodwork will echo it. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by crime. Now, can you imagine how much of that is going on today? Take Italy, for example. I mean, much of Italy is controlled by the mafia. That's a slightly different example, but, you know, it can still be applied to that. In fact, my dad, I'm sorry to go off topic here, but I thought I'd inject a little bit of humour into this video for a change. My dad used to work in an area of Italy called Monte Mario, okay? And he worked in a bar, and sometimes gangsters and members of the mafia would walk in there, okay? And he used to serve them drinks, and that was a part of Italy that, parts of it at least, was controlled by the mafia. Anyway, let me read this bit again. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by crime. It's happening all over the world. Has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labour is only fuel for the fire? That the nations exhaust themselves for nothing? For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So it doesn't matter what we're doing, ultimately God will have his way. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbours, pouring it from the wineskin till they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. Wow. Let me just read that bit again. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbours, pouring it from the wineskin till they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. Go figure. You will be filled with shame instead of glory. Now it is your turn. Drink and be exposed. The cup from the Lord's right hand is coming around to you, and disgrace will cover your glory. The violence you have done to Lebanon will overwhelm you, and your destruction of animals will terrify you. For you have shed man's blood. You have destroyed lands and cities and everyone in them. Of what value is an idol, since a man has carved it, or an image that teaches lies? For he who makes it trusts in his own creation. He makes idols that cannot speak. Woe to him who says to wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up? Can it give guidance? It is covered with gold and silver, but there is no breath in it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. Now we're on to Habakkuk's prayer 3. Habakkuk 3. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet on Shiginoth, I think that's how you pronounce it, or is that Shinoff? I'm not sure. Lord, I've heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds, O Lord. Renew them in our day. In our time, make them known. In wrath, remember mercy. God came from Teman, the Holy One from Mount Paran. His glory covered the heavens, and his praise filled the earth. His splendour was like the sunrise, rays flashed from his hand where his powers was hidden. Plague went before him, pestilence followed his steps. He stood and shook the earth. He looked and made the nations tremble. The ancient mountains crumbled and the age-old hills collapsed. His ways are eternal. I saw the tents of Cushan in distress, the dwellings of Midian in anguish. Were you angry with the rivers, O Lord? Was your wrath against the streams? Did you rage against the sea when you rode with your horses and your victorious chariots? You uncovered your bow. You called for many arrows. You split the earth with rivers in the and it says here, the mountains saw you and writhed. Torrents of water swept by, the deep roared and lifted its waves on high. Sun and moon stood still in the heavens at the glints of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear. In wrath you strode through the earth, and in anger you threshed the nations. You came out to deliver your people, to save your anointed one. You crushed the leader of the land of wickedness. You stripped him from head to foot. With his own spear you pierced his head when his warriors stormed out to scatter us, gloating as though about to devour the wretched who were in hiding. You trampled the sea with your horses, churning the great waters. I heard and my heart pounded, my lips quivered at the sound. Decay crept into my bones and my legs trembled. Yet I will wait patiently for the day of calamity to come on the nation invading us. Though the fig tree does not bud, there are no grapes on the vines. And there are no grapes on the vines, Though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will be joyful in God my Saviour. The sovereign Lord is my strength and makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on the heights. And that's where it ends. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too abrasive and a bit sort of random, mentioning how my dad once worked in Monte Mario in Italy, not too far from Salerno, because that's where he was born, Salerno, Italy, okay? Castel Ruggiero, Salerno. And yeah, it just came to my mind when I was reading this bit here. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by crime, because it reminded me of the mafia in Italy. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for tuning in, and remember to like and subscribe, okay? I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, and take care.